Hello everyone and welcome to the first For the Love of Commander podcast, brought to you by Affinity for Commander. My name is Alex.
And my name is Martin.
In this episode we're going to be detailing the ways we got into Magic, how we got into Commander, and why we think it is the best format going.
Yeah, so to start off, I think we should talk about how we got into Magic as a general thing. So I'll go first as I started playing before you. I remember going to a Dragon's Maze pre-release with my friend Dale, so shout out to Dale.
Shout out to Dale.
And he showed me the principles of how to play and what the cards did. And I don't remember much from that pre-release, it was quite a long time ago now. But one thing I do remember is he pulled a card called Aurelie the War Leader. And she is 2 generic mana, 2 red and 2 white for a 3/4 legendary angel with flying, vigilance and haste. And what's always stuck with me was the fact that she says whenever she attacks for the first time each turn, untap all creatures you control and have an additional combat phase. And I just thought it was crazy how she could break the rules and have 2 combats instead of 1. And that always stuck with me and got me into the game itself. And I started playing for real about M15, the end of Theros, that kind of area. And do you remember how you got into it, Alex?
Cons of Tarkia pre-release?
That was the first pre-release we went to together, but do you remember how I taught you how to play?
Oh, it was the little free-to-play starter decks we got from Waterstones.
Yeah, so we had the M14 free-to-play decks, and we had the blue one and the white one, and I remember quite vividly that we were playing along and you were just picking it up, and I taught you one card that changed the game for you.
Soul Mender.
Soul Mender. So Soul Mender is, well, let me describe it as it's your card.
Soul Mender is a terrible, terrible card, but he holds a special place in my heart. He's a 1 white mana, 1/1 human cleric with tap, gain 1 life. So not great. I mean, it's fine. It's not great. I'd probably run that as a 99th card in a Loro deck if I'm really pushing it. But it was mainly the fact that I was really understanding sorcery speeds. And then you said to me, you know you can do that during my turn as well.
And that was the start of blue.
Oh God, why would you ever do anything during your own turn?
And as you rightly said, after that we went to a Cons of Tarkia pre-release.
Cons of Tarkia pre-release.
Cons of Tarkia in Wales, of all places.
Wales.
And I just remember that because I milled myself out so many times of my Sultai deck, which was not what you're supposed to do. And that's how we really probably got into it together, isn't it? We just kind of kept pushing each other and going, oh, my deck's better than yours, and carrying on. And we only played Standard at that point, didn't we?
Yeah.
And the way we got into Commander was when rotation happened for the Battle for Zendikar.
Yeah, Khans rotate all the juicy fetch lands and
Theros
dual lands.
Yeah, so much went out in one go. And we had all these cards that we had no use for and couldn't use in Modern or anything like that because they're just not good enough for the format. And we thought, well, let's try Commander. We can stick them all in a deck together. And do you remember what your first commander was?
Keranos, God of the Storms.
Yeah, Keranos, the dirty god. Do you want to tell people
Keranos is beautiful. Keranos is 3 generic mana, 1 blue and 1 red for a 6/5 indestructible legendary enchantment creature god.
Bit of a mouthful.
A little bit. But he's not a creature unless your devotion to blue and red is less than 7.
More than 7.
No, he's not a creature if it's less than 7.
Ah, this is true.
Yeah.
I thought he's not a creature unless.
But the key reason I loved him was that at the beginning of your upkeep, you have to reveal the first card you draw on each of your turns. Whenever you reveal a land card, you draw another card. Whenever you reveal a non-land card, you get to deal 3 damage to a creature or a player.
I just remember being bolted by that so many times.
Just bolt or draw. It's blue and red. It's perfect.
And the fact that he was indestructible was pretty useful as well. And my commander was equally a god. He was Phoenix, God of Deception, which was 3 generic, a blue and a black for a legendary creature enchantment god. It said as long as your devotion to blue and black is less than 7, he isn't a creature, just like Alex's commander. But it also said creatures I control have tap, target player puts the top X cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard, where X is this creature's toughness. So mine was all about the big toughness creatures like the walls, and all about milling people out. And I think it's fair to say that both of the decks were pretty bad.
Yeah. Keranos got a little, not great. Let's go with that.
It was early days.
Early days.
And both decks still kind of live on in spirit.
Yeah.
I think that yours is now part of Mizzix.
Yeah, Keranos got absorbed into Mizzix of these Magus.
It wasn't in Mizzix at one point.
Yeah, it wasn't in Mizzix.
Mizzix.
No,
It's evolved a few times there. And, Fennex found a place in one of the 99 in my Merrin deck, which... my Sidisi deck, rather. Can't go in Merrin.
No.
My Sidisi deck, which you've already seen getting destroyed in our first episode. And that's how we got into Commander, and round about now we have 12-ish Commander decks.
Between us, 12. Yeah. At time of recording.
At the time of recording, it's 12. Probably
might be more by the time this comes out.
Especially with the new Masters set, with Dominaria. With
all damn legends.
Oh, that'll be fun. But that's getting off track a bit there.
Yeah.
So we got into Commander that way, and we're just going to go through kind of 3 or 4 reasons that we really like a Commander, and why you should like it too.
So, for starters, Commander is not like other formats. You don't get, you must run 4 of this. You have to run 4 of this. It's only a singleton format, so you only get 1 of each card that is not a basic land, which means you get a huge amount of variety in every deck. You could run against another Mizzet player, another Mizzix player, and you could see completely different cards you've never seen before, which is always great for variety of the format.
Yeah, and speaking of variety, there are over 17,000 cards that are legal in Commander, which is one of the highest amounts apart from...
only being by Legacy and Vintage.
Yeah, so I like what I was saying, you can have cards that you've never seen before from crazy old sets.
Like, obviously there are still staples in the format. There's still the Soul Rings, Path to Exile, the Signets, I'd say.
Yeah, cards that most players would run, but you don't have to have them. You can still have a pretty great deck about Soul Ring. I know there's one of our friends, Patrick, doesn't like Soul Ring at all. In fact, when he had a Commander deck, the pre-con ones, he took the Soul Ring up, didn't he? Right in front of us.
Every single time.
It was dark days.
No.
But as well as having over 17,000 cards to use, there is over 700 legendary creatures you can have as your Commander. So even though the colour combination is a finite list, you can have obviously monocolour, dual colour, tricolour, over 700 different commanders, and there's several of each combination. So there's always nice variety even in the same colours.
If you ever want to make a commander deck, there's a commander out there who does what you want your deck to do.
Oh yeah.
But of course, it's Commander, so unlike other formats, you don't get to just put in whatever you want. It's defined by your commander's colour identity.
Yeah, which is also quite a good topic, because a lot of people get this wrong with what colour identity is.
Yeah. So, if you have legendary creature, we'll take Perforos. Perforos is a good one. Perforos is a mono-red creature god, like from the cycle we were just talking about. And Perforos, everything about him, he is red. Red mana symbols, and that is the only reference to mana symbols and colour on the card. He is red. In your entire deck, you can only have cards that have the colour identity red or colourless.
Whereas cards such as Alicia, who smiles at death, she is a 2 generic and 1 red legendary creature human warrior, and you might think, well, her colour identity is red then. But actually, in her rules text, she has the white and black split symbols, so her colour identity is red, white and black, which is
Mardu.
Mardu. It's a bit of a catch-up if you don't actually know how it works. This also works for split cards like Turn and Burn, where one side is red and one side is blue. You wouldn't be able to fit that in an Alicia deck because of the blue part of the identity. And there's also cards like Memnarch, who is a colourless commander, but he has blue in his reminder text as well, and his rule text rather.
In his abilities,
so he is a blue commander as well. So cool little rules that can fix.
Just as a small thing, everyone listening right now, just to yourself, or say it out loud if it's not too weird on a public bus, if you're on a bus. Are basic islands, what colour are they? If you said blue, I'm terribly sorry. All lands, by their nature, are colourless unless they specify otherwise on the card. So, things like All Is Dust, the Eldrazi sweeper, that doesn't hit lands, thankfully.
Yeah, that would be
too much.
So that's one of the reasons we like Commander, is the sheer variety of decks you can come across. There's no super strong meta like there might be in Standard, where every other deck you see is this, and as soon as you see the cards, you know exactly what the rest of the deck is. It's a lot more flavorful and
exactly, like especially in multiplayer Commander, like you can make an absolute optimized deck to the point of you've got a small loan for a house on the table, but you still have 3 other people there, so you can make a fully optimized deck, but there are 3 other people who will see this and then start attacking you because they're super confident you can probably kill them faster than they can kill you.
Yeah.
Which, a bit more on that later. But for the time being, we're going to go on to one of the other reasons we really love Commander, is the eternal joke that if you watch stuff like the Mana Source, you'll always see Wedge saying this, the good for EDH cards.
Oh, yeah.
So during any preview season, you will absolutely see people spoiling things on Facebook, Mythic Spoiler, wherever you go for your spoilers. There'll be always the line, always the joke that this huge, expensive, bomb rare is good for EDH, i.e. it's terrible in everything else because it's way too high costing and you'll probably be dead and the match will be over by the time you even get anywhere near casting it.
So one of your favourite examples of this is Zendikar Resurgence.
Oh, I love Zendikar Resurgence.
So it's a 5 and 2 green enchantment, so you'd never get a chance to play it in Standard or Modern, you just get it beforehand. But it says whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana of the mana pool that any type of mana that land can produce.
Bit of a mouthful there.
Yeah. So you get double mana,
essentially. Double mana, yeah.
And whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card so you can cast more things with that double mana.
Exactly.
Which is fantastic.
Double mana, play out everything, and it refills your hand from dropping your entire hand because you've just doubled your mana. And in green. You get to draw in green. That's great.
Another example of this is Blatant Thievery.
Blatant Thievery.
Which,
Blatant Thievery.
Yeah.
I love this card.
So I can make it out of my accent. So, Blatant Thievery is a 4 generic and 3 blue sorcery that says for each opponent can gain control of target permanent they control. Now, 7 mana to steal a creature or a land or a anything really.
Yeah,
it's quite expensive.
Even Standard, at time of recording, there's a 4 mana one that you can do that. 6 mana, sorry. You can do that with, it's not Collective Restraint. I'm going to get this so wrong. It's the energy one, where you pay energy equal to CMC of a creature or an artifact, and you get to take it as long as you have that much energy.
We'll put it on the screen.
We'll put it on the screen. I'm terribly sorry. I traded one literally 2 days ago.
But the whole point is it's not good.
It's way too expensive. But the good text about Blatant Thievery is the fact that it's for each opponent. In a one-on-one game, that's terrible. That's 7 mana to take one thing at sorcery speed. In a multiplayer game, that's amazing. That's 7 mana, you get 3 things.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cards that are like this where they're just fantastic for EDH. And usually they're quite cheap cards as well, which is really handy when you're trying to build a deck on a budget. You don't want to be spending an incredible amount of money like you might do with Modern or Legacy. You can always spend money for Commander, but you tend to find that when it's 3-on-1 in that case, as people will see your dollar and think you need to be taken out of the game quicker than anyone else. So it's always nice to pretend to not be a threat. And that leads us on to the next section, which is the politics of Commander.
Yeah, politics of the Commander is something that you don't ever get in any other format. You can't, put it this way, the next time you're in an FNM, try persuading your opponent not to kill you for another 2 turns.
I'm pretty sure that comes with bribery.
No, you can perfectly ask your opponent not to kill you. They can then equally say no and then kill you.
Yeah.
But in Commander, you get to make all types of deals and alliances, there's conversation, there's quips, there's jokes, there's everything. It's fantastic.
And there's even specific cards which will say that you need to get someone's opinion. So it sounds a bit like an unset, but there are actually cards that are legal to do this. So Will of the Council.
Oh, will cards.
Yeah, so say for example, Plea for Power has Will of the Council. It's a 4 mana sorcery, 3 generic and a blue, that says, starting with you, each player votes for time or knowledge. If time gets more votes, take an extra turn. If knowledge gets more votes, all the votes tied, draw 3 cards. And it's all about you trying to persuade your opponents, this is what you should do because I want it, and I won't hurt you if you do this. And your opponent's trying to say, well, actually, which is better for everyone at the table. So it's very political in that way.
Quick tip, never give them an extra turn.
Yeah.
Never give extra turns. Or my favourite example of this, where you have to vote, and this isn't about making a huge amount of choices, this is about persuading other people that your way of doing things is right, and that is expropriate.
Expropriate.
I love this.
Is that the really, really expensive one?
It's not expensive. It's
Is
the
it
expensive
mana
mana
cost
cost one, yeah.
It's 9 mana, isn't it?
It's 9 mana, but it's 9 mana to essentially say, I'm going to break the rules of the game now because I want to. It's 7 generic mana and double blue for a sorcery with Council's Dilemma. Already it's more serious. Starting with you, each player votes for time or money. For each time vote, take an extra turn after this one. For each money vote, choose a permanent owned by the voter and gain control of it. Exile, expropriate.
In my experience, I would say always give them your things, because if you give them an extra turn, they'll untap all their mana and take it anyway with some other spell.
But even, do always, unless there is something, with all things being equal, I would say, always give them a thing, because an extra turn, it can just be ridiculous.
They can untap their mana, play a draw spell, and then they've gained both things instead of just the things. So.
Exactly. It's also the psychological advantage of being able to do everything you want to do, knowing it'll all still be there in your next turn, because your next turn is now, is just a huge advantage. And yeah, they're always going to take one extra turn because they can't gain control of their own permanents. But even if they have the 3 best cards on the board from everywhere, they only get another extra turn to use them. And then everyone gets to respond to it with a board wipe or do something. But it's still a really good card.
Yeah, and you don't even need the cards to have a bit of politics going on. You can say to someone, if you don't counter this, I will attack that person with the creature, or if you destroy that artifact, I will attack him afterwards. So there's a lot of political shenanigans that way.
One of my favourite ones is, we do this a lot in our playgroups. I don't know if everyone else does this. Maybe it's just a really isolated thing. The Cod Factor Fiction, which is an instant, 3 generic mana and 1 blue. You reveal the top 5 cards of your library, and a target opponent, so you get to choose who does this, separates them into 2 piles. And then you get to put one of those piles into your hand and the other into the graveyard. Now, the reason why this is really, really good in politics is that you get to pick someone, say Martin has a huge board state, and I've mystical tutored up a damnation, and he knows I have that in hand. I factor fiction and pick him. He can then choose to make piles of 5 cards and 0 cards. I then get to draw 5 cards for 4 mana instant speed, with the addendum that I don't cast damnation and wipe his entire board. That's pretty good, but that's a deal.
And you never break a deal in Commander.
Never, ever, ever, ever break a deal in Commander.
The second you do, no one will ever trust you again.
No one will ever trust you again. Or they might trust you once more, and that's just the good grace of humanity. And if you break it again, I think you would struggle to then find people just to play with you.
Yeah.
Because you kind of need that trust, a gentleman. There's been several times where people have gone, I want to cast this Avenger of Zendikar. And I've had to stop them and saying, with that on the stack, is that going to be swinging at me? If not, I won't counter it. There's absolutely nothing to stop a person from playing it, getting all their plan tokens, I not countering it, and then the next turn they just swing and kill me. There's nothing in the rules to stop them from doing that. But
next time they cast up.
Next game, it could be a month from now, they are never having a permanent hit the board as long as I'm still alive in that game.
Yeah, holding grudges.
Never break a deal in Commander. It's never a good idea.
And speaking of making deals with people, the only reason you're able to make deals with people is because of a play group meeting for it. And one of my favourite things about the Commander format is that you can have such a diverse play group. We're in our early 20s, mid-20s for you maybe.
Whoa.
And we play with people half our age, double our age. We play with a variety of people from different backgrounds and from different areas of the country, different countries indeed.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you can sit down and it's not quite as competitive of a format, it's pretty laid back. And you can just have a bit of fun playing the game.
Exactly.
And it's never the same game twice, even though it's the same decks and same people.
It's one of those things where it's the communication that helps so much in it, because being able to convince someone you're not a threat, and then coming out of nowhere, convincing others to use their very precious removal spells on not threatening things just because you've seen them before and you know how threatening they can be, all that takes a lot of communication skills, a lot of convincing. Politicians are probably really good at Commander. That'd be
or Magic players would be good at.
Politician, yes. Wait, does Donald Trump play Magic the Gathering? Do we know this?
But steering away from a real world context before we get into trouble for that.
Yeah.
The last thing I really want to talk about with regards to Commander is how you don't just have to play by the Commander vanilla rules. You can spice it up a bit with things like Plane Chase and Arch Enemy. And I know you're not a particularly big fan of Plane Chase.
No.
Because of the randomness of it.
Don't like Plane Chase. Plane Chase is one of those things, it's fun when I do it. Like, there are cards, I can't remember the planes. Like, there are some that just give you goats, there are some that give you Wooburg at the beginning of your upkeep, and it's perfectly fine, but they tend to lead, in my experience, to people getting way too much value because of playing a certain deck. Like, there are times when I'd be playing, well, I'll keep with Niv-Mizzet. Back when I was playing Niv-Mizzet, in that deck, you kind of need just to stall a little bit, and the plane that just gave you goats. That was great. It was super helpful, because they were just chump blockers, and I just got to block and stay alive at a healthy life total, and then I just comboed and just won. Because it was very dirty, but I would have been dead very long ago if it wasn't for those valiant goats.
Yeah. That's just the issue if you play control, is if something doesn't go your way and you have no way of controlling it, you're going to be salty about it.
Not salty, how dare you.
And the one that you do actually like is Arch Enemy, because pretty much every game of 4-player Commander we play with you just turns into 3-on-1 anyway.
Yeah.
So it's no different there apart from you get the extra schemes.
Yeah, on a small side note, most games can turn into Arch Enemy. If you do play cards where you play like a foil or Regional Zendikar Forest, into a foil Green Sun Zenith for 0, into a foil Dryad Arbor, and then tap that for a foil Birds of Paradise on turn 1.
Dollar.
Yeah, all that dollar. Do be prepared for that game to swiftly become Arch Enemy, because everyone is really aware that you can probably combo them to death.
Yeah, it's like a game that I've played before in the past where one of the guys was new to our group. He just started with us. He played an Expedition Fetch Land into an Expedition Shock Land, and then infinite comboed to win by about turn 4. So the second game we played, it was 3-on-1 straight away. We knocked him out first thing. And he couldn't understand why we'd done that.
So
and
if you want to play those, like, I play those decks. I love playing my Narset deck. I'm not going to search this. If you know what Narset does, she'll be on screen. If you know what Narset does and you know how that deck works, you know why everyone immediately tries to kill me. And I prepare for that. I enjoy that. I will happily go turn 1 Scalding Tarn into a Plateau, into a foil Soul Ring that I've had altered. But when I do that, I know I'm immediately going to die. But that's fine. That's how I enjoy playing that game.
Yeah, whereas most people enjoy nice games.
It's nice for me.
But it is all about knowing your play group. Like, we have a kind of an agreement in our play group that if you're going to infinite combo, it's something that's not going to happen turn 2, you know. It's late in the game to finish off if we're taking too long.
Exactly. Even then, be polite about it. One of our friends has this great thing where he'll just put his cards down, look everyone around and say, has the game gone on too long? Which is fine, to be honest. He acknowledges that that's not how people like the game to end, so he makes sure it doesn't. He makes sure the game goes on, everyone has a good time, and then crushes everyone to death.
And this is when it's been going off about an hour or so, not the first 10 minutes. Which, you know, it's all
exactly.
Some people are happy just have infinite combo fights.
Exactly, but that's the thing with Commander that I do love. You can have huge variety. Some love really quick games like that, so you get as many as possible. Others love really dragged out, grueling into the mud games. Gruel. But that's why it's so good. Because you get such variety, you get so many different people, different communications, different cards, different win conditions, and it is just so much fun.
And ever-changing as well. As new sets come out and new cards are released, certain decks become infinitely better, new decks entirely appear. Like my Geshath Dinosaur deck, that was not a thing before Ixalan came
Tribal
out.
got some huge support.
Yeah, and even my Edgar Markov deck got some massive bonus from Ixalan. So
Even
that deck. With kind of undervalued sets like Ixalan, where they didn't really have much impact on anything else.
It was good for Commander.
Good for Commander. And that's where we're going to leave this podcast. So we hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for our next episode, which will be a return to the Commander gameplay video, but something a little bit new. We have listened to feedback given to us, and we are starting some 4-player games. And we have changed our setup as well. We've invested a little bit more in our camera mount, which is now going to be an overhead view. And we're working on making the channel as good as it can be. So if you have any comments or ideas how we can improve, leave them in the comments section below. And we will see you next time on Affinity for Commander.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.